What if you discovered that you're carrying the most important message in human history, and the world is waiting for you to deliver it? According to the Apostle Paul, that's exactly the position every Christian finds themselves in today. In the bustling port city of Corinth, around 57 AD, Paul penned one of his most profound letters to a struggling church community. Corinth was a melting pot of cultures, religions, and moral conflicts. Trade routes converged there, bringing wealth but also corruption. The Corinthian believers faced constant pressure to conform to worldly standards while trying to live out their newfound faith in Christ. Paul himself knew something about transformation. Once Saul of Tarsus, a fierce persecutor of Christians, he had experienced the ultimate reconciliation when Jesus appeared to him on the Damascus road. Now, writing from Macedonia, Paul addresses the Corinthians with the authority of someone who had lived both sides of the story. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 18, Paul declares that God has given believers the ministry of reconciliation. But what does this mean? The Greek word for reconciliation, katalege, implies a complete change of relationship from hostility to harmony. It's not just making peace, it's restoring what was broken to its intended wholeness. Paul explains that God was in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, not counting people's sins against them. This wasn't merely forgiveness, it was a cosmic restoration project. The creator of the universe took the initiative to bridge the gap that sin had created between humanity and divinity. Then comes Paul's stunning declaration in verse 20, "We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us." An ambassador in the Roman world carried the full authority of the emperor. When an ambassador spoke, it was as if Caesar himself was speaking. They represented not just a message, but the very presence and power of their sovereign. Paul is telling the Corinthians and us that we carry Christ's presence into every situation we encounter. We don't just talk about Jesus, we represent him. Our words, actions, and attitudes become the means through which God extends his reconciling love to a broken world. But Paul goes deeper. In verse 21, he reveals the theological foundation. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. This is the great exchange. Christ took our brokenness so we could receive his wholeness. He became what we were so we could become what he is. This isn't just ancient theology, it's a present reality. Every conversation becomes an opportunity for reconciliation. Every relationship becomes a potential bridge between heaven and earth. When we forgive someone who has wronged us, we are demonstrating God's reconciling heart. When we extend grace instead of judgment, we are acting as his ambassadors. Consider the practical implications. In our families, we can be agents of healing rather than sources of division. In our workplaces, we can model integrity and compassion. In our communities, we can build bridges across racial, economic, and political divides. The ministry of reconciliation isn't reserved for pastors or missionaries, it's the calling of every believer. Paul emphasizes that this reconciliation begins with us. We can't give what we haven't received. Before we can be ambassadors to others, we must first experience God's reconciling love ourselves. This means acknowledging our own brokenness and accepting Christ's healing. The urgency in Paul's voice becomes clear when he quotes from Isaiah. "In the time of my favor I heard you, and in the day of salvation I helped you." I tell you, now is the time of God's favor, now is the day of salvation. There's an immediacy to this calling that can't be postponed. What makes this message so powerful is its universal relevance. Every person we encounter is either already reconciled to God or in need of reconciliation. Our role isn't to judge who deserves God's love, but to demonstrate it consistently and authentically. Paul's vision transforms ordinary Christians into extraordinary agents of change. We're not just trying to get people to heaven someday, we're bringing heaven's values to earth today. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every gesture of forgiveness becomes part of God's great reconciliation project. The broken world around us desperately needs what we carry. Relationships are fractured, communities are divided, and people are searching for hope. As Christ's ambassadors, we have both the privilege and responsibility to represent His reconciling love wherever we go, making His invisible presence visible through our very lives. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more weekly videos that stir the soul.